The sordid topic of coin, I'm afraid, is not so simple. It's different for everyone.
YouTube is inundated with get-rich-quick schemes and, promissory of an aspirational life.
The unfortunate reality is artists have to wear a lot of different hats.
Artists making $200,000 per month.
My business generated a little under $60,000
per month.
The art of business and what it costs to be an artist.
Hi, pigs!
Hello, everybody. My name is Henry Haight. Thanks for cutting me by. My pronouns are...
Oh, well, why don't you shut your hoe ass up?
And...
That bitch better have my money.
And if you're new here, this channel is about all things art and the process of art, making art, my tips, tricks, failures, stories, yada, yada, yada. Fun for the whole family. You name it, I've done it. Anyhow, today's video is on a particular artist. Came across his work and amazed by his talent. And he had a video where he posted that he made over $200,000 in a year. And essentially, YouTube is inundated with get-rich-quick schemes and, promissory of an aspirational life. This guy kind of did but within two videos I watched, he did two in-depth things of virtually where his money went and what it cost. And this video is about the art of business and what it costs to be an artist. And the artist in question is a guy by the name of Dustin. Look at my notes here. Dustin Pazino. I hope I'm saying that right. But he is more on the fantasy character, comic, illustrative works. Now, nothing wrong with that, and there's a market for it. Comic-Cons, San Diego Comic-Con is a huge business, and virtually last year took in $219 million. So with this guy virtually doing conventions and stuff, we're going to go over the breakdown, and I'm going to share my thoughts and stuff. So
the unfortunate reality is artists have to wear a lot of different hats. Diversifying where your income streams come from as an artist is more important than ever. But we're going to talk about not just the ways I make money as an artist, but what ways are there to make money as an artist. Spoiler alert, here are the income breakdowns based on category. Feel free to skip to the section that you are most interested in.
Now, he's listed virtually 21 items. Now, I detracted virtually taxes and expenses because that is not an income stream. And virtually, we'll get to that in a bit. So
many of you may already know that conventions is my main source of income. Now, that does not mean it hasn't gotten a lot harder to make a living this way. With the rising competition and the struggle to get into some of the better shows within the United States, sales across the board for artists not being as strong as they might have been a couple years ago. But what did I actually bring in? I made a total of $134,581.22 in gross sales. I didn't get to take this all home because of travel costs and expenses and taxes and all that, and we'll talk about that more at the end of the video. Just trust me, bro. Trust me.
I don't like that word, bro. It's like fucking nails on a chalkboard. It's just like, it's never used to, like, and only douchebags use that fucking word. I wish people would be far more creative saying, anyway, than bro. Like, look, bro. So that's impressive of what he pulled in for conventions. And essentially it's true that depending on your specific audience, there are loads of competitions. Now I've done art fairs and I've done tattoo conventions. The difference with the art fairs is that the galleries that represent me pay for the booth. I don't. I can show up, and I call that part of, like with gallery speak, a shaking hands and sucking cocks, trying to entice buyers to the work and then see what else is out there. With conventions, though, they want to see your online presence. They want to see your social media. They want to see how credible and if your work is on par with the others. So they, like galleries, they are curating a show and where to actually put you. And depending on your basically your skill, your genre and stuff, they will know where to put you. And then there's the consideration of single or double booth, which, you know, the bigger the booth, the more money. You know, that's, yeah, you have to think about that.
Trust me, bro. Just trust me, bro. I did a total of 16 events this year, and the income from these ranged drastically. I had one event where I actually lost money at, and then I made over 25K at another one. So all of these are between...
Wow. I knew a girl that did the Amsterdam Tattoo Convention, and she flew in from Brazil. And it was a 3-day tattoo convention at the Rise Center. And essentially, I swear to my hand to God, she did no tattoos whatsoever. And her work was lovely. But the weird thing is that it is a crapshoot. Looking at a lot of these type of conventions, they are things for the home that are small. They don't dominate a wall. So, you know, you're vying for people's disposable income in a sense.
Those ranges. This is the first year that I've made less money than I did the year before through conventions. But I also did fewer shows this year than I have in the past. I would like to just do the better shows and then skip the ones that aren't as profitable going forward. But obviously with acceptances and how the convention space works, that's not always possible. Now that's a lot of money. That's a good income. However, conventions might be the largest percentage of gross income I get. It is also the largest source of expenses I have. And now this leads into online sales. There's obviously a lot of different paths you can take to do online sales, drop shipping, Redbubble, those types of websites that will do those things for you. Typically, I try to steer away from those types of sites just because I feel like the profit margins they give you is a bit scammy and the quality control for the consumer isn't great, and I don't like not being able to control whether my customer has a good experience.
Online sales are a big thing, and what I've noticed about Dustin here, on his link tree, his website is at the very bottom, which to me should be at the very top. If that's his online sales, that should be numero uno. Because looking at everything, he's got his YouTube, his Instagram, and everything. And not all the kids virtually look at that. But you have to think of, still in the marketability sense of a business, that is your first calling card. Your Instagram is just an add-on. Your website is you. That should take precedence. Galleries make virtually half their sales through online sales. And that would be, I would push that essentially.
Lazy Dustin doesn't like this. And Lazy Dustin hasn't been making a lot of new products because Lazy Dustin doesn't like to promote new products and try to push sales on social media, where the majority of online sales kind of come from.
Don't have an assistant anymore, so it was just like, but I can totally relate to that. But at the same time, my print space can virtually drop ship for me, and virtually I already know all the papers, and I've had 14 years experience with this guy at Print Space, where they know which ones, and they've even contacted me going, are you sure you want this paper and stuff? So, you know, if you build a relationship with your printer, they got your back.
So check that out. And then we also have galleries or retail spaces, wholesale or consignment. So personally, I'm not a big fan of the gallery scene. It's just not really how I like to sell my work, but there's definitely a lot of money to be made in that space, especially in the more fine artsy scene. But I ever so often do show my work at certain galleries here or there. This year I made approximately like $600 from galleries. My work isn't, you know, it's digital work. It's normally like fancy prints or something. It's not going to be very good for the collector space, which is normally what the gallery scene caters to. And galleries typically take a 50-50 cut, which I'm pretty good at finding my own audience and getting people to buy their work directly. So there's not really a lot of reason for me to just give over a 50-50 cut.
Galleries have a huge overheads. The art market for me is slightly different, but I did have a dry spell where I didn't sell anything for virtually 9 months. And I'll go through my breakdown of some of the factors and how I make my money, but I do think that if he made original art and virtually started to do his research, he could virtually up that ante so he wouldn't have to do so many shows and all that, especially right now with the cost of petrol and with tariffs kicking in. Shit is about to get real for artists. So there are certain galleries that virtually will bring you certain collectors. I know when I've done comic book shows with my friends, the Satanic Artists, we would all converge at Orbital Comics in Leicester Square.
Which, to be fair, is oftentimes what the gallery is for, is to find that client base that you might not already have. So if you're struggling to find a client base, but you do decent work, maybe the gallery scene is for you. Oh boy. Now, if I add up all of my income sources, I made $203,660.79. So about $200K, but that is definitely not what I get to take home. Here's the cost of doing business.
203,
we'll start with the expenses that are absolutely unavoidable. In the travel cost category, I have flights. I spent $5,600 on flights, and this is exclusively for conventions. Hotel costs, $4,800, and then booth fees.
This is one of the things you have to be very careful about. It's the little things that actually that you don't think about: gas, bank charges, card charges that on your every transaction, pencil, little things. But it just I'm sure he'd probably end up with, I'm guessing, somewhere close to 90,000 take home after this. Let's see.
God, booth fees have gotten out of hand. $8,426.46. So obviously this is convention exclusive, Artist Alley booth fees. Although I think this number is crazy. I do know some people who spend like $4 or $5K on a single booth at certain like exhibitor hall events. So maybe I'm doing okay. I don't know. I miss the days of like $200 Artist Alley tables, but I think those are long gone at this point. Food while traveling. Now this is where I get a little bougie. So your average person probably
I am one bougie bitch. Hi, my name's Henry, and I am a bougie bitch.
Pretty far down compared to
food. Yeah, I'm very picky about food.
So a little push and pull there. So food, $9,378.17. Luggage prices keep going up, $1,750. Shipping to shows, mostly to avoid some of the luggage fees, about $700 this year. Luckily, I can drive to some shows. Again, this is pretty much exclusively for conventions. So car maintenance, $1,356.16. Really cheap this year. Normally that number is higher. Gas, $2,466.03. That's not gas for the whole year. That's just gas for me driving to a convention or something work related. Ubers or rental cars while at an event, $2,566.72. Parking is just about $600.
What I do give him props for, and this is the number one thing that I really do think that I might tip my hat off to him, is that he's invested in himself. And like I've said, no one can sell your art better than you. I do think that looking at some of his work, the level of it, I don't think it would hurt to add an extra 5 on certain pieces, because I always had this issue with some of my artists when they worked at my shop. They were like, oh, no, and I was like, your work is beautiful. I'm like, if you're underselling yourself, don't be greedy, but be realistic. But test it out where you go, you know what? I'm going to add maybe an extra tenner or an extra $5 to this and see what happens. And you'll be impressed, especially with the stuff that you really, if you get a rumbling in your stomach, you're onto something. So, if it moves and you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, yep. So, food for thought. My studio, before I had to put everything in storage, my storage unit right now is 567 pounds and 36 cents, on top of a 50-pound insurance, which I'm insured for $75,000 to cover my work. You have to deal with your trash and stuff if you have an art studio. And fine art studios or professional art studios, they tend to have, self-contained studios will have an agreement to where you get an extra bill every quarter to where they cover the water, electric, trash, collection, recycling and stuff. You know, it included the Wi-Fi, trash, and the taxes for business rates for the studio, which virtually, you know, my studio in Dalston was $1,500 a month, and then I paid for my own electricity, which roughly was $110, 110 pounds a month. Then I had my council tax, which was $75. My waste and recycling, my clinical waste was 95 pounds a month. My waste and recycling commercial, I paid $2.50 a bag, £2.75 per bag from First Mile. Unfortunately, a lot of the properties in London are held together with fucking gum, and I had a landlord who I thought, wow, this is a great location, great locale, and I come to find out when it rained, my studio flooded, and I spent $3,200 fixing the rotted floor in the bathroom when I was standing on it, and my fat ass made the floor buckle. When I came to find out, there was water damage and rot from the linoleum over the floor, and virtually it buckled, and I went through it. The floor ripped, and I was like, oh my god, I need to go and diet. I digress. But anyways, lo and behold, I moved in during the summer, and then when the rain came, my studio flooded, and that actually cost me. And I had 2 dehumidifiers, but during the summer I didn't turn them on. But because of the rain seasons, my electric bills went through the roof, and because they were always on to make sure that the bathroom as well as the kitchen and stuff were. So, anyways, so there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think, and thank you for visiting. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and leave your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you the next time. And most importantly, to yourselves, know this: you are the best person to sell your own art, and for that, I need you to keep creating. All right? Take it easy. Peace.
I have one thing to say. You better work.
Your call? Oh no!